Welcome, everybody, to the Help for Hip Dysplasia podcast. We have for this episode Leah from Canada from the Little Hippy Co. I'm very excited to have this conversation. I've been following Leah on the socials for a long time now. I'm very excited about the work that she's doing. So, Leah, it's lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing your story. So, the Little Hippy Co. is a clothing brand designed for people with hip dysplasia and clubfoot. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep, babies up to currently 9 months old with big plans to expand our sizes this year as well.
Nice. So people don't come up with a brand like this and an idea like this without having some sort of personal connection, I'm sure. So I would love it if you would tell us a little bit about the reason this all came about, any sort of personal stories that you've got that kind of led you to having this idea. Would that be okay?
Yeah. Hip dysplasia has really hit close to home for a long time. I was born with it as a baby, and just sort of heard about it throughout my life that my mom had to double diaper me as a baby, and but it never really hit home until my daughter was born. Um, 2 months into the pandemic, and she was born, and they immediately felt her hips dislocate at birth. So that was when it kind of came to the forefront again of, oh, yeah, that's right. I had this. And that was our introduction to the hereditary factor of hip dysplasia. Um, so my daughter was sent for an ultrasound and confirmed her diagnosis, and she went into a Pavlik harness at 2 weeks old.
Hmm.
Um, it was the pandemic, so it was a really challenging time to be a new mom and kind of navigating this diagnosis and adjusting to the Pavlik harness and adjusting to parenthood in general. Um, and so when she went into her harness, luckily it was summertime and we weren't going anywhere anyways. So she mostly just wore her harness around the house. But I always found it a bit frustrating that I had nothing to put over top of it. She was kind of a spitty baby, and every time we fed her, she would have little spit ups, and we were constantly trying to keep the harness clean. And so we got through treatment with our daughter, and she came out of her Pavlik harness after 12 weeks and was hip healthy, which was amazing. And then 3 years later, my son came along, and we were really hopeful. And by then, we had really educated ourselves on hip dysplasia. And we were hopeful that given that he was our second born, he was a boy, we knew the risk factors were slightly lower. We were really hopeful that he wouldn't be diagnosed as well. However, at 6 weeks old, he went for an ultrasound as a preventative screening measure. I don't know, preventative, but he went for his ultrasound and we got his diagnosis as well, which was very emotional for me. Um, Having been through the process once, I knew what we were in for, and I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but because he was 7 weeks old when he went into his harness, it was much more challenging for us. He was bigger, slightly a little bit older, more further along developmentally, and the adjustment was just a lot more challenging. Sleeping at night, he was not sleeping. He just really didn't seem comfortable. And I remember so vividly sitting in bed, I think at like 2 o'clock in the morning one night, going, there is no amount of money that I would throw any amount of money at this problem right now to just get us some sleep and get him comfortable and make this a little bit easier. And so we ended up ordering products from abroad, and we paid outrageously in shipping. We waited, I think, 2 to 3 weeks for them. And I just had this thought of, we need products here in North America, and we like there needs to be something available given the statistics of how many babies are diagnosed with hip dysplasia. And I'm just too stubborn of an individual to have let it go. And I just decided, you know what, I need to take this on. And so after speaking with our orthopedic or pediatric orthopedic surgeon, she was so supportive of the idea and knew that families were in need of this product. And we thought, you know what, we can do this. And so we started working with a manufacturer in Vancouver and developing patterns. And using what we knew would really work, things that, unless you had gone through hip dysplasia treatment, you wouldn't know these little tweaks to the patterns and areas where babies would need a little bit more room. And so we worked really closely with our manufacturer and developed our patterns, and in July of 2024 we launched our online store.
Wow.
That's a lot of backstory.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to pick out from that that I want to ask a little bit more about that I'm intrigued about sort of before we go into sort of the products and stuff. Like having having such a strong genetic link, having experienced sort of the stuff, your mum like said that she obviously had to sort of, was it double diaper you used as the term?
Yeah, yeah.
And double diaper you and then both of your children. I'm sort of curious as to how much you learn from either child. Were both their stories sort of very different, and did having differences in their stories help to lead you to know a little bit more about what you needed from sort of these kind of products going forwards?
Yeah, certainly. I think the age difference was a really big factor in that. They also had very different cases. My daughter, her hips actually dislocated, whereas my son, I think hip dysplasia is often referred to as like a silent disorder or silent thing in the hips, because you can't see it and sometimes you can't feel it. And if left untreated, it can cause real problems down the road. My son's hips were more silent in his diagnosis. So um, I think even just emotionally having that that hope that, okay, he was good at birth and at every check he seemed to check out. So that was another really big factor. And yeah, with regards to like their age to the things that we focused on and what we learned about even just keeping him a bit more comfortable, we found at an older age the harness, kind of the pinch points were in different areas, and so trying to keep him comfortable and really, at that point it was like, okay, this is something that's going to be involved in our family, so educating myself on it and getting a bit more involved in the community as well to find support for myself and see where I could support others. It was, something that really came to the forefront for me.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is it okay to ask how they're doing now?
Yeah, yeah. So they are almost 2 and almost 5. My daughter Zoe, she will be screened for 1 more year. So typically they're screened, I think, depending on your doctor, they'll do a year checkup, 2 years and 5 years. So they will both go for their X-ray this spring to do their checkup, and hopefully my daughter will be totally discharged from our pediatric orthopedic surgeon. And my son, he'll have a few more checks, but all in all, they're doing really well. And it's that in itself, after going through all of that, I look at them, running outside or playing, and it's a real reminder that, the hard times were really worth it, and they're good now. So it's a really rewarding, happy feeling.
Good, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm keen then to know through the journeys that you've had with both of them. You've mentioned a couple of things like where the sort of, I think you coined it pinch points that
Yeah.
you've got with some of the harnesses. Are
Yeah.
the things that you've decided to make a direct result of the things that you've experienced, or did you then start sort of, like you said, getting involved in more in the community, asking other people what issues they were having? Like, what are the sort of main things I guess I'm curious about that you found out from both yourself and other people that you've kind of beelined into these products?
Yeah, it's definitely been both. I mean, because we went through a Pavlik harness treatment with both the kids. That was my experience, and I was really fortunate when I started speaking to families and getting involved in the Facebook community, and as well as speaking with specialists. We've worked with the medical community kind of as we've developed our products and since launching to learn, I really got to educate myself about different forms of treatment, the Rhino Cruiser, abduction braces, spica casts. It's been really great, learning all of that and how we can support families going through different treatments than we did. Initially, when we started developing our pajama loungers, it was really focused on, okay, how can we meet the needs of a baby in a Pavlik harness? And so we did things like created a little bit more room in the chest where the chest strap goes around them to make sure that it wasn't uncomfortable there. And obviously our wide set legs in our both our pants and our pajamas to kind of make sure that the fabric and the clothing wasn't restricting those legs. And luckily, that wide leg stance is a common place that you want the legs and the hips to be in all forms of treatment. So our wide set legs and the design of our snaps, it really played into beautifully into all forms of hip dysplasia treatment, and as well as clubfoot. That was another really cool kind of extra that came with it. Was someone pointed out to us that, hey, this is a really great product for babies going through clubfoot treatment, and they're in need of clothing too. And so getting to tie that in as well has been really cool. But it's worked out really nicely that the products were kind of developed with our knowledge of a Pavlik harness, but they're really transferable into a few other methods of treatment, and kind of keeping babies comfortable in those as well.
So like I said, the Pavlik is the thing that sort of started it off for you with the questioning and the designs. And you said there's some other methods of treatment that it's good for. So would you mind just letting us know which of the other methods, like, with a spiker or right, and all of the ones that it works for?
Yeah, so excuse me, our pajama loungers work great for both the Pavlik harness and the Rhino Cruiser or abduction braces, and really allow that extra access for diaper changes, and the wide legs, especially in the Rhino Cruiser. There's no restriction. It's not uncomfortable. They're designed specifically for the legs to be in that wider position, and even things like the fabrics that we used. For layering over a Pavlik or under a Rhino Cruiser, they're super soft. They're really breathable bamboo fabrics. So those were all things that we really tried to make sure that our products were developed with. Um, so the Pavlik harness was what it started out with, and then yeah, the Rhino Cruiser and abduction braces. We realized, and we worked with families to make sure that the product really worked well for those cases as well. And the spica cast was a really great additional benefit that we found. And this is something that we're working really hard to develop now. And it was also feedback that we received from the medical community that we work with, because there is so many kids being treated with a spica cast that have no clothing available for them. And when we rolled out our initial product launch, our sizes went up to 9 months, because kind of babies was what we knew. But in learning and developing in all of these communications that we've had with families and physicians, we are going to be expanding our hip dysplasia pants to be able to fit larger spica cast babies up to probably 2T. So we're able to accommodate those casts as well, because currently our pants do work really well on a spica cast, but it's for the younger babies up to about 8 months old. But that's something we're really excited to be expanding this year, to be able to support more families with a little bit older kids as well.
So there was something that you said there that went sort of over my head a little bit. So what's 2T?
Oh, sorry, about 2 years old.
Ah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
24 months. Yeah. That could be a UK Canada size difference.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, so thank you
two
for
years.
clarifying that. That's cool. And so it sounds like you do things that go underneath, you go over the top, you do like padding stuff. Like it sounds like you've got a really cool range of things to help
Yeah, great,
them.
great options. Great for different seasons as well. Yeah, for layering or wearing under. We also wanted to be able to provide sleep products, because that is so huge. Getting sleep as a parent and making sure everybody's comfortable. So what we did is we partnered with a wholesaler to be, I believe we are the only retailer other than Love to Dream themselves within Canada, that we sell hip harness specific sleep sacks um, for families. Unfortunately, we're only able to sell them within Canada, but those sleep sacks are designed specifically for the hip harness. And it's the Love to Dream product that we all know and love, with the arms up, swaddling with the arms detachable or in place for the younger babies, and it just has that extra room in the legs for lots of hip healthy movement, and just keeping babies super comfortable at night. And it's designed specifically for those babies, which I think going through the treatment as a parent, it can feel sometimes really isolating, and like there's no products available for your baby. We heard from many different parents that, I had all these really cute outfits bought that, my little one's never going to be able to wear, and it's really heartbreaking hearing those things, and something that I went through personally as well. And that was something that we really were intentional about in developing our product, is like, okay, how can we make these pieces feel trendy and high quality, and something that, you feel good putting your baby in, and they look cute, and to sort of support that emotional side from a parenting aspect as well.
So what were the biggest challenges emotionally then? If you're happy to talk about it, because I can imagine there are many, and obviously you've touched on a few of them there, and whether it's both from yourself or the community, sort of emotionally, what were the things that were the most challenging?
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, because the harness or any form of the treatment it makes baby a little bit more bulky. And I think that sort of skin on skin, snuggle aspect, there's an adjustment that comes with that. And you do figure it out, you know, you're still able to snuggle and carry and, love your baby for sure, but it just looks a little bit different. And there's an adjustment period that comes with that. An experience that I had that I will never forget is with my daughter. She was born during COVID, so we were very much in isolation. When my son was born, it wasn't, everybody was back to their normal lives. And I'll never forget being at a playground with my daughter playing, and I had my son, and he's in his harness, and there was another mom that was on the playground, and very innocently, but I could tell she was kind of looking like, what is that? And I had this real feeling of like, oh my God, she thinks something's wrong with my baby. And, and so I sort of took it upon myself to, bring up that, oh, he has hip dysplasia. And for me, that feeling, that sort of isolation of, someone thinks that, or he looks different, and that really hit home. And I think that's where the awareness and the sort of promotion of education of hip dysplasias is another big aspect of our business. It's 1 to 3% of all babies are diagnosed with it, and yet, many people have never even heard of hip dysplasia, or they know it in the sense of dogs getting hip dysplasia. And so working to raise that awareness, and education on screening for new moms, new parents, that's a big part of our business as well. And hopefully one day will allow parents to feel like, oh, that's just hip dysplasia, and it's a little bit less isolating, and it's something that, through businesses like ours, and the medical community, that we're able to make feel a little bit less isolating.
For sure. That's a really wonderful part of your social media presence that you have as well. It's very much educational, as well as it's not, just promoting the wonderful products that you do. It's very much about education as well, and that's very apparent, and it's very apparent that that's very important to you.
Yeah.
So it's lovely that there's so many people individually with different companies and different people that advocate, and different charities that we're all singing off a very similar hymn
Yeah.
sheet, right? Like we're all trying to address the same issues. We're all hoping for one day there to be a universal screening program where every single baby gets scanned, and that, yeah, it doesn't feel so isolating. I mean, yeah, I never knew anybody growing up until I studied physio. Like I didn't know anybody else that had hip dysplasia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels isolating for the people that go through it. It feels isolating for the families that have people within their family that have hip dysplasia that just don't know who to contact. Um,
Yeah.
but again, the more people that are getting involved in socials and, the online presence, hopefully you're right. Hopefully there will be a day where it's really easy to find this information and it doesn't feel such a big deal, it doesn't feel so stressful. And even though there will be so many challenges day to day, people will feel less alone and more supported. That's the, everything that we can ask for, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that's the goal right there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so where is the what's the point now going forwards? What's the next stage with Little Hippie Co?
Yeah, it's a big year for us. We're really, really excited. So not only are we advancing our line of pants that's going to be inclusive for older toddlers and kids of wearing spica pants, sorry, spica cast. But we're also going to be launching sort of an additional line of awareness products. I don't know if you can see, but we're repping our
Oh, I love
awareness is
it.
hip. Yeah, so we're gonna have a line of just t-shirts coming out for both um, adults as well as kids that have gone through treatment, our hip warriors. Really promoting that awareness and adding, adding to that conversation and advocating for families and really just continuing to get our name out there across North America, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere that we ship to, and just continuing to support families and working with again our partners in the medical community. We're part of some really exciting initiatives regarding screening, developing a screening program across Canada. We work with some amazing doctors that are really at the forefront of developing this program and so really excited to be involved in both the family aspect as well as the medical aspect as well.
Is that something that you can tell us a little bit more about, or is that kind of on the down low while it's kind of
Yeah,
being put together?
I don't know. So I'm gonna leave that as a TBD. I don't want to ruin anything that's gonna be coming out, but it's as someone who's not in the medical field, it's a real honor to be able to provide kind of that family aspect. And I know we work closely with the BC Children's Hospital out of Vancouver, and their team at their hip clinic is really passionate about understanding and supporting the family experience behind hip dysplasia and so getting to take part in that as a parent that went through it, an individual that was born with hip dysplasia, it's an honor to kind of get to speak from that lens and have a team of professionals that's really passionate about supporting families and treating hip dysplasia as well.
That's so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the places that you ship to. Is it the places that you mentioned, the countries that you mentioned, or is it a worldwide thing? I think I remember you saying something earlier about one of your products only being allowed to be shipped within Canada.
Yeah, yeah. So that is our sleep sacks because of where we purchase them from. We're only able to source those. Those are not actually Little Hippy Co products. They are a brand that we're only available to ship within Canada, given Health Canada regulations. However, our clothing products and our line that's going to be coming out as well, that will be able to ship um, within our awareness products will ship within North America and then our Little Hippie Co pants and pajama loungers, those ship within Canada, the US, New Zealand, Australia, and the UK. So
Amazing.
really we're all over.
And it sounds like it's continuously expanding. So
Yeah.
it's very, very exciting. Would you mind letting everybody know where they can find you? Like what are your names on socials, your websites, like your details? Because I I think everything you're doing just sounds just so wonderful. And I can see how passionate you are about the work that you do. And again, yes, the products are, a part of it, but so much of it is about the passion for supporting families and advocating for kids and being able to give everybody the best possible experience while going through this treatment journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a beautiful story. And I'm so glad to have been able to speak to you today. But I want everybody that's heard it to be able to, if they're in a similar situation or they know of other people in those situations, I want them to be able to make it easy to find your stuff. So yeah, take it away. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so we're all over. Our Facebook, Little Hippy Co. We have a Facebook page, Instagram. Our handle is littlehippy.co. And our website, www.littlehippyco.ca. If you search up hip dysplasia clothing, I think we're one of the first people that pops up. So we're not too hard to find, and you know, I think we're working on expanding that and really, yeah, getting our name out, and yeah, being able to support families and friends of families, and you know, being involved in the community as much as possible.
Well, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your story. And yeah, I'm so excited to have a little bit more of a dig around on your social media
I
stuff and your
appreciate that.
website. So thank you very, very much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.